thousands of dollars, and I'm going to teach it absolutely for free today and break down the entire virtual wholesaling real estate process so you can know exactly the best way to get it. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's break down my virtual wholesaling acquisitions guide. Now, nothing too crazy here. We're just going to break down how to close your sellers over the phone. It's a tad of a different process than basically closing your sellers in person. A little bit different, but pretty much the nuts and bolts are pretty similar to a point. Use the same closing tactics. You just have to change your expectations a little bit to do it the right way. So let's kind of talk about, we're going to break down exactly how to go from a qualified seller to a signed contract and basically get the lowest price possible in virtual wholesaling real estate. That is basically the goal for today. Really remember, guys, when we're talking to our sellers, there's really 4 questions we have to ask ourselves and ask the sellers so we know what to say. This is the 4 pillars of wholesaling: motivation, condition, time frame, and price. We go over this basically all the time at freewholesaling.com, and that's kind of how we break it all down. Now, the conversation with the seller, it's a lot of people really overcomplicate things. Your conversation with a seller in virtual wholesaling is going to be more important because you're not really face-to-face. Body language isn't the biggest thing, which is, I guess, a big plus, but everyone thinks it's the biggest deal in the world. But really, it really comes down to tonality, speed. So tonality is the way the inflection in your voice when you're speaking to the seller, and then kind of the speed to a point. Speed's like how fast you're talking. You got to match the seller. Your posture to a point. If you're upright, you're going to sound a lot better. The timing of your words are going to be everything. Kind of when we talk about the closing lines here, it's going to help you out a lot here. The timing of the words are going to be important. The number one thing too, guys, don't blame your sellers regardless of what they say or think. I think that's one thing a lot of people really get overwhelmed with. If a seller says something mean to you, or they don't want to deal with you, or they don't want to deal with your cash offer, don't get upset at it. I mean, it's like fishing to a point. Sometimes you just don't catch fish, when you're at a spot and you go to another spot. It's like, baseball. If someone's throwing a pitch, you can swing on it, you don't. The last thing here in virtual wholesaling, a lot of sellers are going to bring up like, oh, Mr. Johnston, he's trying to buy my house too, and he said this, and that. Whatever. Guys, never attack or talk bad about your competition, regardless of what they say. And if your seller's asking, I would never talk bad. We're here to buy it. We're ready to go. So let me talk about some secrets to virtual wholesaling success. You must have a belief, guys. A belief is the mental acceptance of a statement in which you hold true. You guys have to believe in yourself, believe that you can actually give a cash offer to the seller, and believe that you and your partner can buy the property cash. When you do not have the belief that you can do this, you will not succeed in this business. You must have a belief in yourself that you can actually get it done and become successful. And most importantly, have a belief that you can actually buy this property for cash. So many people don't have this belief, and it's not good. So belief alone, although it's not enough to be great at sales, there's some other things too. All great salespeople, virtual wholesalers, acquisitions people, they must also have conviction. Conviction is an unwavering confidence in your belief. So your conviction will make up for your deficiencies. You have to have an unwavering confidence in your belief and the way that you can help someone out with you and your cash partner. This will be huge for your success. The person that cares the most about helping their sellers will be the buyer. I think this is one statement a lot of wholesalers out here, they know it, but they don't really implement it. And this is something I feel like a lot of virtual wholesalers, a lot of beginners in wholesaling real estate need to understand. But the more you care about the seller, the better chance you're going to get the deal. And pretty much the person who cares the most is going to help the seller out. If you care about the seller needs, you might offer him more. Might not be the best, biggest, baddest price, but it'll get you the deal. And that's sort of the point here. We want to help the sellers out. We want to help them in this transaction. We want to help them out with everything. But if you really look at everything from a macro perspective, it all comes down to helping the seller with what they want and bringing it all down. That's it. That's really how you break it all down. So the person that cares the most about helping the sellers will be the buyer. That's 101 the acquisitions. Everyone, a lot of people clicked on this video today thinking it's going to be the super sexy Wolf of Wall Street closing negotiation stuff. It's not, guys. It's not sexy to say this, but it's true. Helping people out, having empathy, and just giving an unwavering belief in yourself that you can help somebody and give a cash offer to them is how you're successful in wholesaling. I don't care what your favorite guru or auntie, uncle got to say about it. The best way to get a deal right now is to find someone who wants to sell a house, provide them a solution of a cash offer, selling it to a cash buyer, rich landlord, house flipper for a huge payday, and just repeat the process. That's how you become successful, guys. That is how you become successful in acquisitions, and that's the best way out here. So let's kind of break these down. So you have to care more about the seller's interest than you do. I feel like that's another problem a lot of people have in wholesaling. They care about their fee, basically how much their money they're going to make over what helps the seller out. I've seen so many people walk away from deals because they want to make an extra 20K when they could have already made 15, 10K and just help the seller out. Always do the right thing too. That's one big thing I can always tell you. Sellers will actually connect with you with your conviction while confronting their own beliefs. That's another huge one too. So let's kind of talk about the virtual wholesaling appointment here, okay? So we basically had to agree to do a virtual appointment with the seller. Sometimes that virtual appointment, a lot of people think it's like an in-person appointment. That virtual appointment, it's sometimes a spur-of-the-moment decision to have that appointment or to get it done. You guys see me do on my lives where sometimes I'll just like get into the appointment like right there, just get the deal closed, get the seller price commitment, get a contract ready. One huge thing, like before we even get into the closing, everything like that, you have to make sure all decision makers are at the property ready to go. And they're ready to make a decision on a yes or no on selling the house there. What I mean by all the decision makers, you got to make sure that if it's a wife, maybe the husband's there, everyone who actually has to sign the contract is there, or the people that all overall have to make that decision. A lot of people really get worked up on the concept of a virtual appointment. It's really not that complicated to a point. If you can actually go out here and say, hey, Mr. Seller, are you ready to make a yes or no decision on selling the property? Me and my partner are ready to buy it. That's it. Some common objections, when you're getting ready to do this process, like, okay, well, when you go to the house and go look at it with me. And that's when I get all the time. I was getting that kind of yesterday too on my Zillow for sale by owners, the live cold calls. And it's like, well, it's not really the way we do it. And you have to explain and bring those expectations up front with the seller if you want to close them virtually. So the way we do it is we actually get the paperwork already done. And then from there, we take pictures, and then we basically have my partner might come by and look at the house, and then we close on it. We just do it to save time, and it makes it a lot more efficient. That's pretty much it. Most people really overcomplicate the virtual appointment, but you really just got to set up really easy, and you go from there. What is the goal of the appointment? This is where a lot of people get confused. Basically, the goal of the virtual wholesaling appointment here is getting a yes, which is obviously the biggest goal. When we are closing a virtual seller, when we're closing everything virtually, the biggest goal, the biggest, baddest, best one, the sexiest one out here is just getting that yes from that seller, right? We want to get a yes from the seller that, hey, I want to sell their house to you. Beautiful. That's the best one, right? We want to get that yes. Sometimes you don't get that, right? Another good one is no. A lot of people think no is really bad, but actually no is really good on virtual wholesaling appointment. Like either you want a yes or a no. If you get anything outside of a yes or no, it's bad. It is not a good real estate wholesaling deal. We don't like it. Not good. Most people, though, out here, they think no is the worst thing ever. No is not. Let me break down what the worst thing ever. And we've kind of gone over this before, but like a maybe. A maybe is hands down the worst possible outcome in a virtual wholesaling appointment. When you're just giving an offer to a seller, the worst possible outcome here is you get a maybe. Why is a maybe bad? A maybe is bad because it's going to create time, and time kills all deals. And that's not going to help with your success in wholesaling. Time kills all deals. So bring this from the top. If we get a yes, we get a deal. We get a no, we don't. You have to understand in virtual wholesaling, especially in wholesaling real estate, that if you go and talk to a seller and you get a yes, it's great. If you get a no, that's fine. Most people aren't good wholesaling sellers. Like most sellers who want to sell the property aren't good wholesaling deals. I think a lot of people overcomplicate that part. And it's absolutely true. Most of your deals are going to be no's. And if you understand that, and if all your deals are yeses, and you're not talking to enough sellers. Maybe's bad because you don't get that definite decision. And then you're always with the what if, and then you can never close them. You're stuck in follow-up. It's bad. So before we start that virtual appointment, remember guys, you have to condition the seller. It's very important you condition the seller. So what's the condition the seller? It's making sure you get that yes or no decision, right? Condition the seller, you basically gotta say, hey, before I come to the property, before I look at the property, I just want to ask you a question. Before I actually go talk to you here, I don't want to waste your time or my time, and I'm very, very busy. I usually only come and look at the property once, or my partner comes twice. Before we kind of break down the numbers and everything here, are you ready to make a yes or no decision right now on selling the property? That's pretty much it. You do on the day of the appointment, but honestly, for virtual wholesaling, you have to just make sure they're ready for that yes or no decision. So once you condition them, then you can kind of get in the nitty gritty here. Before I set up a virtual appointment with the seller, before I actually get into the offer and everything, the one thing I really love doing is comping the property. I feel like before you actually give an offer, you need to comp the house and basically find the MAO. Now, what is the MAO? MAO stands for the max allowable offer. That is basically the most you can offer a seller overall. So if I know my max allowable offer is $200,000, that means a cash buyer most likely, doing my calculations, will offer me probably around $200,000 for the house. So it means if I lock it up for $190,000, that means I can sell it for $200,000 and make $10,000 in profit. Pretty good. Not bad. Not some bad moolah, right? That sounds pretty good. A lot of people don't understand this concept, but if you comp the properties and get the MAOs, it makes it so much easier. There's so much less stress on that virtual appointment because you know exactly what to offer the seller. Once you know exactly what to offer the seller, it just gets so much easier, guys. Hands down, it's just going to help you become as successful as possible. So how do you calculate MAO? I'm going to give you a quick crash course, nothing crazy. But this is basically the formula, ARV minus repairs times 70% if your ARV for that house is under $120,000. See it right there? That's it. Really not that complicated. If your ARV is under $120,000, it's ARV minus repairs multiplied by 70%. I don't care what any of your knuckleheads in the comments wants to fight me on this. This is what actually works, okay? That's it. If you don't like it, then run your own business. But this is how I do it. This is how I find a lot of successful wholesalers out here. Most people, they do it the wrong way, and then they always lock it up for over what it's worth, and then they never make a lot of money or their margins really suck. And this is how I came up with this formula, and it works. Now, if your ARV, this is rough stuff too. This is updated to this week, okay? This is what my dispo team, when you're dispoing deals with us, www.flipbook.com/JV. When you're sending us a deal, this is how we're comping it too. ARV minus repairs multiplied by 80% if the ARV is between $120,000 to $240,000. Remember, guys, this right here, this is stuff you have to pay thousands of dollars to go see this information. Just FYI, this is the stuff. And I'm giving it out for free, so make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. But basically, that's it for that one. Now, if ARV is $240,000 to $300,000, we're roughly around 83% there. ARV minus repairs times 83%. And then basically, once you're over 400,000, I like to keep it around 85%. ARV over it's about 300, 400, And then basically when we get to $1 million houses and stuff, you can be in 86, 87. Heck, you get a correct multiple on a commercial deal. It could be a 90, right? It all depends to a point on how much it is going to be. But yeah, a lot of people, it's crazy, but yeah. All right, let's see. All right, so that's basically the formula I'm saying it works the best. Most people really overcomplicate it, but that's it. So let's talk about the virtual appointment. It's a little different than the physical appointment. I'll be completely honest with you guys here. It's a tad different. A lot of people, you want to look at it similar, but it's different to a point. I have a lot of I think one really important thing you guys do is I actually have a lot of recorded conversations in freewholesaling.com and me locking up sellers. Even in mailingmastery.com, I actually have things locked up there, virtual wholesaling. I actually have a video under the real deal section or my acquisition section in freewholesaling.com where I literally lock up a $75,000 deal, all virtual. Was even dealing with seriously, it was crazy. And then I lock up these deals all virtually, and it was kind of back in the day when I was doing all the acquisitions myself, but the stuff's tried and true and it still works today. So it's a little different. The one thing, the best advice I give to a newbie in virtual wholesaling, especially when it comes to their acquisitions, is you want to talk to the seller kind of like you're going to buy a car. And I think a lot of people get very confused the way I talk like that. A lot of people think it's very weird that I say that, but there's a method to my madness. So you want to talk like you're buying a car to a seller, because a lot of people get very anxiety ridden when it comes to the acquisitions process, closing a seller, especially virtual. And if you really put the stress out of that, a lot of the overthinking in your head, you're going to do fine. So I know all of my analysis paralysis overthinkers out here. We all love you. We all love you. But I think one thing that can change a lot of the way you guys think is like buying a car. So most wholesalers out here, y'all have bought in cars before, right? Y'all have bought in a car most of the time. Like everyone in like analysis paralysis right now, right? And if you act like you're buying a car, right? What do you do when you buy a car? Hey, I'm looking to buy a car. Okay, well, what are you looking to do with it? I'm maybe driving it. I just want to buy it. Okay. Are you going to buy it cash? Or yeah, I'll buy it cash. Like, it's just when you're buying a car and you're talking to another person, you don't act like you're an auto mechanic who has decades of experience and you're the expert on it. Like, you guys don't act like that. You guys don't talk like that. That's crazy, insane talk, right? Like, y'all don't do that, right? So why would you do that with your seller and act like you're an expert on everything? When I go buy a car, this is a big pet peeve I have with like virtual wholesaling gurus type people. Like they do this all the time. They're like, I need to talk to my financing department in the company. We're a big hedge fund investment firm at blah, 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 blah. Stupid. Okay. Stupid. Bop you on the head for that. Okay. Guys, act like you're just a regular Joe buying a house. You can connect with the seller a lot more doing that. And we can just buy a car to say, hey, I'm looking to buy your car. I'm looking to buy your house. What do you do? Like, you test drive it a little, you bump it a couple times, a little test drive, like nothing crazy, right? And just, hey, why are you looking to sell the car? Is there something wrong with the car? Like what's going on? It just, so many people overcomplicate it. If you just act like you're buying a car to a point and have a conversation like that, you really don't have to, when you talk really simple with it, it's going to be fine. You have to also explain your intentions though, too. I think that's one thing that's a tad different than like regular wholesaling real estate, but like explain your intentions, who you are, basically who and your partner are, what you're looking to do, and it'll help you a lot more. So, hey, Miss Seller, this is Zach. Me and my partner looking to buy the property cash. Sometimes like even the live calls I got yesterday, it's like, why are you looking to buy the cash? Well, I don't know. We could either buy this as a rental. We could either flip the house. I don't know what me and my partner do. Basically, when we kind of look at everything, we make our decision there. Sometimes we just close on it and then we make a decision from there. But if it's a price that works for us and works for you, we're good to go. That's as complicated as you have to make it of who you are. I see so many people saying, this is Zach with Zach Home Solutions and me and my hedge fund partners on the investment firm and we're blah, 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 blah. You guys try to act like y'all are big shots. Come on. Okay. I'm a little different. I can say I own hundreds of rentals and I own a lot of stuff that's giving passive income and all this real estate, and you all can look me up. Like, I can say that with a seller, but I don't really run acquisitions too much anymore. My acquisitions people can say that because it's technically they work for me, but you guys can't really get that right now, which is fine. No big deal. But if you just say you and your partner, I mean, your partner has the funds, everything like that. And the next question here, it's like, Zach, what if somebody asks for a proof of funds? Am I screwed? Am I done? Oh my God. People honestly think that getting a proof of funds is like the greatest thing in the world. I never get asked for proof of funds. Never. You guys saw me go live 2 hours yesterday, cold calling. And then the hour like before that last week, I got all these people on price commitments doing live cold calling. Did I get asked once the last 4 hours of live cold calling I did this month? The last 4 hours, cold call for 4 hours. Did I get asked once? Let's do hundreds of hours you've seen me on this channel. Live cold calling, no, unscripted, unedited. Did I ever get asked for a proof of funds once? No, never did. Not weird? No? Like, guys, so many people think this proof of fund thing, you get asked a proof of funds when you don't have confidence. That's it. Oh, Zach, well, I get asked proof. You get asked proof of funds, Johnny, because you don't act confident when you talk to a seller. When I talk to my seller, I talk with pure conviction, pure confidence and experience. Now, the experience part's kind of harder for a lot of you. I get it. But to a point that confidence comes from me knowing I have a cash partner there. Heck, I was in Oregon. Like, I was cold calling the Oregon thing yesterday. Like, I don't have as much cash buyers in Oregon, but I was confident I can have a buyer there. Ready? That's it, guys. Making this business so complicated, it only hurts you. This business doesn't work unless you work. You have to have that confidence in your soul that you can help a seller out, and it's going to help you big time. Big pro tip I want to break down for everyone here. But basically actively hinting to the seller, this is a big sales tip I give to everyone, actively hinting in the conversation with the seller, saying things like, hey, when I buy the house, we're going to do a lot of work here. What's the rental here? What's the cap rate? You can get really advanced if you really want to, but just having those little conversations with the seller, it's actually going to help a lot. Condition the seller, condition their minds that we are the buyer. We're here to help you out. We're ready to buy this thing cash. It's actually going to help a lot, guys. That's a big pro tip I give to you. Now, we're getting the conversation. We're talking to the seller. We're ready to go into the sales process. Like, hey, Mr. Seller, after looking at everything, me and my partner, we'd like to buy this house. How much are you looking to sell the property for? Or how much do you need to get rid of the property for? How much do you need to sell it for? So these are the different type of closing tactics out here in wholesaling real estate. I think a lot of people overcomplicate it, like I've said before, but these are basically them. So number one is the low ball. The low ball is personally not my favorite one, but it is a strategy that technically could work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of people get burned from this tactic because they don't know what they're doing more or less. But the low ball, you just low ball the seller. Hey, let's say the MAO is $200,000. Mr. Seller, would you take $130,000 for the house? No. And then the low ball never works really, because you don't really have a logic with it. I think that's a big problem I see a lot is you don't add in the logic with the seller, and that's just, it ain't going to be good. So you want to add a different element. You can get that low ball. It's not my favorite. Good cop, bad cop's one that I've been teaching a lot lately, and it works really, really well. This is basically using your partner's leverage to get the lowest price possible on the deal. For example, Mr. Seller, I was talking to my partner Rick here, and he was looking at it, and he just texted me here. I think he wants to be around $140,000 on the house. Then you say that? Shut up. Don't say anything else. Guess what happens? You're going to see their reaction to that. And basically, their reaction to that is how you were going to react on it. 140 is a little low, Zach. I didn't offer 140. Hey, I did. That's what he was saying. He's cuckoo. He wants everything low. And then negotiate for what works for you. And negotiate from there. That one's really good too. You can use the $1 method too. So this is kind of the next one, the volley method too. So Rick's really good at this. This one works really well too. This is the king of cringe, the king of awkwardness. This is more or less the way to do it the right way. But what do I mean by it? What's the quote unquote volley method here? So the volley method is basically the method when you're talking to a seller and you kind of, it's like volleyball. You just volley it out. Volley it out. What do you mean by this? Well, let's break down. Let's have a live combo like this. Hey, Mr. Seller, I was looking at this. Seems like a good property. This seems like a nice one. Why are you looking to sell? And they blah, blah, blah. Explain to seller. We're getting in the conversation, we're looking to buy it. Mr. Seller, are you ready to make a decision on selling the property? Yes. So you can make a decision today on selling it. Okay. If we're buying this all cash and we close in 14 days, you can sell it because of, insert their motivation. What number works for you? Where just no nonsense. We buy cash. We're ready to go. Shut up. Let them say something. And this is when they say, I don't know, Zach. I don't know. I don't know how much this thing could possibly be worth. My favorite's when they say that because I know they're lying when they say that. Okay. Because they heard something in an Art of the Deal book or something that they don't say the price first, right? So basically how I kind of combat them with this is okay, Mr. Seller. So you have no idea how much the property's worth? No. Well, if you did know, what would it be? I don't know. I'm well, obviously we're coming here, you have a number in mind. Obviously you're not going to sell the property for nothing, right? You're not giving it out for free, but so what would work for you? I don't know. Well, in a perfect world, what would work for you? I don't know. What would work for you, Mr. Seller? I'm just curious about it. What's your offer, Zach? I'm just trying to gauge where you're at on this. You keep volleying. Usually when you volley 4 or 5 times, you're going to get the price from the seller. You can also do the other one, like the seller first method, where you just ask the seller what they want to sell first, kind of like I said before, except the seller does give you a price first. You can even use like the dollar method. I actually like the dollar method. I think the dollar method actually works really, really well. What is the dollar bill method? You basically ask the seller. These are all different like you can't use all of them at once, but like you can kind of put them in your repertoire of virtual wholesaling acquisition. This is like, so you have no idea how much you want to sell the house for? No, I have no idea, Zach. Well, you got to do this with a laugh, because I've kind of done this before. Some no nonsense people don't like this, but it works for a lot of people. Maybe you have some rapport with Mr. Seller. See, I'm laughing there. Mr. Seller, I mean, would you take $1 for the house? And just, you see how like that little fake laugh? Because obviously I'm a world-class actor, but number 2 here is, the reason I'm saying this is because they're not going to sell the house for $1. That's utterly comical. Makes no sense. Why would anyone do that, right? But he's not going to sell it for $1. But technically my offer here was $1, so they got to counter. If they say no, I'm going to sign the contract for $1, which obviously I won't do. But like, I wouldn't sell for $1. Well, that means you probably, well, what price? Not $1. Well, $2? No, not $2. $3? $4? What? $10,000? And you keep going up till it's like, well, $50,000. Okay, and then they're frustrated, but they just spit out their highest price or their lowest price they're willing to take, and then you kind of negotiate from there. Well, Rick is at 20. Can we meet the middle 30? Handshake, logic, boom, ready to go. A lot of sales kind of comes back in 3 steps. This is one thing. This is kind of scientific sales type method. I think the dollar bill method, of course, dollar bill, y'all, Wu-Tang, cream, cash rolls everything around me. But like, obviously, I throw on the Wu-Tang shirt for the dollar bill method. Hopefully, everyone can catch my drift on that one. I think some of the people know what I'm talking about. But what I can tell you with this method is, all right. Let's pull the curtains down. Let's get serious here. You're talking to me one-on-one right now. Let me tell you something right now that costs thousands of dollars to learn, that you won't even get at these huge guru bootcamp seminars I just give for free. No one in wholesaling ever talks about this when it comes to acquisitions. This is something I always tell my team. And this is the 3 stages of selling, especially in wholesaling real estate. There's 3 stages. I'm talking one-on-one. This is the stuff no one else talks about. Guru's going to steal this, but I don't care. There's 3 stages to selling. I read a lot of sales books. This is it. There's 3 stages to selling scientifically, psychologically, in human beings' brains. This is a quick tip that's made me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. The way you're selling your seller in virtual wholesaling can be completely wrong. There's 3 ways to sell a deal. Three stages. Number 1 is logic. Number 2 is fear. Number 1's emotion. Number 2 is logic. Number 3 is fear. That is the method of selling a virtual wholesaling deal. So number 1, emotion. Number 2, logic. Number 3, fear. It is in that process. So number 1, most people, first sales thing is emotion. You got to give them emotionally. Emotionally, get rid of the property, sell it. I want to get rid of the stress. That's where most sellers are, motivated sellers are. Number 2 here, logic. If you can't sell a seller on your cash offer with emotions, why they're not agreeing to sign right now is because of logic or fear. You got to go through the process. Most people are on emotion, so you got to sell off emotion first. If emotion's not working, you got to go on to logic. How do you sell in logic? This is the thing that most people in wholesaling can't grasp or can't understand. Some sellers are purely logical, and you can put emotions with it and get the deal sold. So how do you do this with logic? The meeting in the middle is the most logical way to sell a wholesaling real estate deal. So your logic could be really good for you and maybe not good for a seller. I mean, logic's kind of an opinion to a point. So if someone wants to sell at 50 and you want to buy it for 20, let's say the deal is a deal at $50,000 and the seller wants to sell for 50, and you could put whatever. If I say I want to buy this thing for 10, if you meet in the middle, you're at 30, you have the advantage on the deal, but you're meeting in the middle, quote unquote, because your offer is so low that you use logic, emotionally, like you logically sold the seller there. Beautiful. You met in the middle, you sold it on logic. Now, the last and most important part. If you can't sell someone on emotion, which is just getting rid of the property cash offer, or logic, you have to throw in the Hail Mary. What is the Hail Mary? What is the Kobe shot? What is it? This is fear. Now, fear is the one I probably close 5% of my sellers on. It is definitely an 80, I would probably say 80-10-5 split. I sell a lot of my deals. So 80% of the deals are pretty much emotion, 10% are on logic. Sorry, 13, 12, I'd say, yeah, 12% on logic and then 3 to 5% on fear. And what is fear? Fear is basically like, okay, well, I can buy this thing for 40,000. 40,000 doesn't work for me. That's not logical to me. And, I'm not emotional. And like they're saying the keywords on there. Well, you just go in fear. Well, you know what, Mr. Seller? You already said you're ready to make a yes or no decision, so I'm going to need an answer. I can give you an answer today. This is really when that fear comes in. Like, okay, well, me and my partner we're gonna call some other people about buying houses. We only have, let's say, $400,000 to buy and renovate a property, and I'm looking to buy this thing for $250,000. I gotta put my renovation. It's gonna cost me a lot of money. I'm gonna give you this offer. It is good for the next 12 hours. Okay, you need to call me by 10 a.m. tomorrow on a yes or no decision, or I'll probably just gonna buy another house by tomorrow. I have all these calls. I don't need to buy this house. You let me know, or 24 hours or whatever. That installs fear. The only way to install fear is kind of make that ultimatum, put a time deadline. Sometimes the seller doesn't sell. It sucks, but it's true. Sometimes the seller just doesn't sell from that. Not good. Not my favorite, but that is a method out there. And it sucks when the seller says no to that, but that is the best way to close. So many people don't understand how that works, but in my personal opinion, that is the way to sell these deals. You either sell it through emotion, logic, or fear. No one ever talks about that, and I just don't care anymore. These gurus really drive me so crazy. That I just gotta destroy them. It's the only way I can do it. That is the only way. It's just funny. But seller first method is really good. Quick FYI, these are 2 words you should never say on your virtual wholesaling appointments. These are the word investor. Use the word cash buyer instead. Number 2 is contract. Don't say that word. Say paperwork instead. I'm telling you, you'll get a lot more better results. So here's the last part here. This is basically agreeing on the price and signing the contract. So what I mean by this. So basically make sure you agree on the price. So if you agree on a price with the seller for virtual wholesaling, you need to stay on the phone with that seller and have them and then you send over the agreement via an e-signing service. Let's see if you guys. I said stay on the phone until they sign. Okay, you stay on the phone. You do not get off that phone until they sign that contract. What is the number one issue I have in virtual wholesaling when people give me complaints? They say something bad in the group, in the mastermind group. That a lot of the complaints I get. Oh, I sent the contract and I never got it signed. Of course, dummy. If you give somebody a contract and they just read, they're just going to read it. They're going to overcomplicate it and they're going to have objections. Once somebody has an objection when they're reading that contract and you're not present, that unheard objection, that undone objection is going to be the biggest thing that's going to kill the deal. If there is an objection and you don't answer it, that deal is dead. And when someone's reading a contract by themselves and they have a question of what's an inspection period, this person's trying to screw me because no one's over doing their inspection period or no one's like answering that, overcoming that objection. Deal's dead. That's why a lot of deals die when you just send the contract over and you don't stay on the phone. That's why you need to stay on the phone with your sellers. Stay on the phone until they sign. Another big thing about that is like if you stay on the phone until they sign, they're kind of like annoyed. So one analogy I gotta tell you on this is like being a kid. So remember you're like 10 or 11 years old and you were in your room and you had a really messy room. I think most kids 10 or 11 had really messy rooms, right? What would you do if your mom came up to you during dinner or whatever and she said, Zach, you need to clean your room? I'll be like, okay. What are you going to do as a 10, 11-year-old kid? Just one out one ear, out the other, right? And you're not going to clean the room, right? Like, because you heard at dinner, it's nighttime, hang out with my friends, maybe playing Fortnite. I don't know what the kids do now. But you're going to do that, right? Now, what are you going to do instead? If you're eating dinner, you're going playing your video games in your room, and your mom goes in the room, and she says, you need to clean up your room right now. Okay, that's a little more, and then she leaves. You might do it a little, but like you're not going to you might procrastinate, and 50-50 at 10, 11. I think the parents who have 10, 11-year-olds understand that's how kids are most of the time. Even me when I was 10, right? But if my mom came in, she said, "You need to clean up your room right now, or I'm not leaving." And now it's awkward. She brings in a chair. She's like, "You're not leaving until I'm not leaving this room until you're out." And like your friends are on the game and you want to play your video. I'm like, "Shoot, I want to eat dinner. I want to get out of here." If your mom's just staying in the room, this is awkward. Okay, I'm just cleaning the room to get you out of here. Same thing with the seller on the phone. If you stay on the phone, it's like, I gotta get this guy off the phone. This is annoying. I got Pilates at 7:00. Guess what? You're going to just sign the contract so you don't have to deal with the guy on the phone breathing down your neck talking to you, right? And I think that's an interesting analogy, but it's the truest analogy for virtual wholesaling acquisitions. That is going to be the best way out here. I think a lot of people, they get stressed out over it. And they can answer the objections. It works really, really well. I think another thing you have to do also is you have to explain the process with the seller once they sign. So they got to sign the contract. Once they sign the contract, you have to bring over expectations with the seller and kind of the process so they understand what's going on. So what is this? So explain the entire process going forward with the seller once they sign the e-signing thing, .loop, DocuSign, wherever, of how you and your partner might swing by the property. Definitely at least one of you are going to, for one more time, to look at the house. I promise you, Mr. Seller, it won't change the agreement. We're just going to look it over and maybe plan a renovation, see what we're going to do with a rental, flip, anything like that. And we're going to do it one more the day of the closing just to confirm the condition. Going forward, we're going to explain that process again. You and your partner. Here's a quick list of the process. Once you get a deal under contract for virtual wholesaling, this is what you're going to tell the seller, right? You and your partner are going to swing by the property one more time. Won't change anything on the property. We're going to look it over and plan our renovations. Number 2, somebody will come by and take pictures of the property. Probably my photographer. He just wants to go take pictures, make it all pretty. So if we're going to get renovations, I can give the pictures to them so they don't bother you, right? Last but not least, this is just for the seller. This doesn't even help anything, but this just makes the seller more at ease. We're going to send the information over to the title company, and we're going to grab it and we're going to give it to them as soon as possible. Just to understand, the title company is going to be calling you, asking you questions, information. You can call them too if you want. They're going to ask you things. This gets the seller excited, right? They're going to ask you some bank account information, so they want to know where they can send it, check, wire, anything. They want to just figure out how to get you paid. That's what the seller really cares about. So when you ask that you're going to come by and look at the house, that gets them upset. But if you kind of explain that we got to get your information to know how you get paid, they love it. They get excited, right? So it kind of neutralizes that to a point. It's really fun.